Hello and welcome to the Yarmouth and Thorley Voices project. Today we're covering transcription, so taking the audio recordings, the interviews, and changing those into text. There are various packages that you can use. The one we've settled on is Express Scribe, as you can see on the screen here, by NCH Software. Again, NCH have been very generous and allow people to use the software for nothing as long as the project isn't a commercial project, and as this is a community project we fall within the bounds of using the free version. So let's have a look at the layout of the screen. There's the familiar menus that you would see on a Windows package. They've been replicated by the buttons here as well. In this section here is where the audio files go. You can have a number of audio files on the go that you are transcribing. At the moment it's just got the welcome audio that is given by NCH when you load the software. And in the second section down here is the place where you can leave your notes if you like. You can also use an external word processor, and this is the real advantage of Express Scribe, is even though you've got a different application, maybe it be a word processor or just a text editor that you're entering the words into that you're listening to, you can use the audio controls. You see here play is an F9, stop is F4, rewind, which is the one that probably be used the most, is F7. Those function keys will work even though the Express Scribe isn't the software that is at the front, if you've got the word processor software at the front. Very unusual to have that and extremely useful. So let's go through the process. First off, we'll get the file manager up and we will transfer the audio file. The example that we've got here is Edward Whitewood, excuse me, and drop it on the file names. Let's go back to here and we can see along the bottom here the audio file is loading in. As before, it depends on this length of the recording and the speed of your machine, depending how quickly the file loads. It also tells you down here what it's doing, loading the audio file. So while this is loading, let me show you around some other stuff. Down in the right bottom here is the ability to change the audio levels. So while you're listening through to it, you might want to have it louder or quieter depending on what's going on in the background. And underneath that there is the ability to change the speed. Again, this is unusual. You don't normally have this in audio software, but it can be a massive advantage if your typing speed doesn't match the speed that the person is talking at that you're trying to transcribe. So normally your typing speed is going to be lower than the spoken speed of speech, if that's not confusing enough, the speed the person talks at. So you'd be able to drop it down to 80–70%. Okay, the people sound strange and unusual when they're talking at that speed, but actually while you're typing you're pretty grateful that that you're getting down what they're saying without having to press rewind the whole time. Okay, so the audio is loaded and we see there's little meters up here showing you how loud stuff is when it's being said. So let's press either F4 on the keyboard or the play button. The project is really to try and, it's quite a bold ambition, but it's to try and capture the memories of Yarmouth. So there you can listen to the beginning of it. Let's use the timeline here. This is the beginning of the recording, this is the end of the recording. In the case of this one, it's roughly an hour's worth of discussion. So let's skip through to maybe something in the middle that we might want to transcribe and have a listen. I'm going to press F4 this time.
9, and then really to run the shop it had to be run from threshold because we had.
So let's say that this is the section we want to transcribe. By pressing, let's do a little rewind. That's called scrubbing, technical term, and so it's just basically you can hear the audio going backwards to give you an idea of how far back you've gone. Okay, let's go from here.
9, and then Really, to run the shop, it had to be run from Freshwater because we had office space there.
Yeah. Now, built into Express Scribe is the ability to take notes. One advantage of using their notepad is that putting the time code in of what is being said is done for you just through a simple keystroke without you having to write down the time code. So let's rewind slightly.
Yeah, I see.
It had to be run from really to run the shop. Really to run the shop, it had to.
So let's go from here. We know that he says we're going to say really to run the shop. So what we need to do is go to Notes, Insert, Time. That's the time code. So Shift, Control, T. So for the moment we use the menu option, and you see the time code, which is shown down in this right hand corner here. That's how far we've got through the recording. Is automatically inserted in there when we do the Shift Control T. So let's put a space in and have a listen.
Really to run the shop, it had to be run from Freshwater because we had office space there.
Yeah. So really to run the shop, we had to. Okay, that's all I can remember for the moment. So if we press, I use the F4 for the stop there. F9 is used for play on the top of the function keys on the top of the keyboard.
Yeah, I see.
And 7 I'm going to use to rewind.
It had to be run from Freshwater. It had to be run from Freshwater because we had really to run the shop, we had to.
Okay, so here we go. Really to run the shop, we had to.
It had to be run from Freshwater because.
To be run from fresh water.
We had office space there.
Yeah, I see.
So let's just put the end to that. We had office space there. Okay. Now I'll show you the example with the audio running slower. Let's put it down to 75. Now, like I said before, it's going to sound strange, but you'll be grateful for it if you're trying to keep up with what's being said.
And in 69,
We've gone back quite far there.
really to run the shop, it had to be run from Freshwater because we had office space there.
Yeah, I see.
And then the Freshwater shop, I expanded that. I mean, in the 60s, it was a really good time for business. I mean, we really just got some strengths to strength, really.
So you see, I was just about keeping up with what was being spoken there. And there will be spelling mistakes you'll need to correct along the way as you try and bash the words down as quickly as possible. So that's using the editor within there, and to save the file, the editing file within there, you can go into the either clip it to the clipboard, so that'll allow you to save it into your word processor. You can highlight it and say do Control A, which will select all of your text, allowing you to copy with a Control C and dropping it into, this is just a normal notepad that comes with Windows. I can paste that in there, and you'll see if I change the view to word wrap it, you'll see the section we've got in there. Let me show you another example of the time code. So let's say we're happy with what we've typed there. We jump forward 53 minutes in. Let's have a listen.
In the early 70s, anyway.
Right. Okay. Well, I'll have a look through.
It was Alison White with Richard White.
I'll have a look through and see if I can find their entries.
Using Shift Control T, there's the time code.
Well, it became comprehensive, didn't it? So they were 9, I suppose.
Okay.
And then they moved up to freshwater.
Right.
This is the section where he's talking about the education of his children. So, again, as I said before, it sounds strange, but you are grateful for it when you're trying to keep up with what's being said.
Right.
Into the West White Middle School, which is
Yeah.
now sort of
Just
Back to the normal speed. So that's one option, is to use the editor that's inside Express Scribe. We could go just over to, say, this software I've loaded here is the Notepad, but it could be a word processor. We lose the advantage of having the Shift Control T for the time code, but we can look down on the right hand corner here and type in 5354, and using F4 to stop, F9 to play.
just been
goes
solved.
to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when they were 13, they went into Newport to Carisbrooke High School.
Mm-hmm. And what do they do for, you know?
I think let's have another play of that.
After school.
Rewind.
Newport to Carisbrooke High School. Went into Newport to Carisbrooke High School.
Mm-hmm.
Newport to Carisbrooke High School.
Mm-hmm.
So let's correct the mistakes I made there. And then when they were 14, play again.
When they were 13, they went into Newport to Carisbrooke High School.
So I even got that wrong. When they were 13, they went into... You get the idea. I won't transcribe the whole thing live for you, but you get the idea. Again, using the speed control may be useful when using external editor as it is when using the internal one. F9 to play.
Mm-hmm. And what did they do for, you know, after school? Did they, what did they do to amuse themselves? I guess it's pretty.
As you can see, it does sound strange but useful. Okay, so that's it. And as normally, you'd be going, say, File, Save As, and save your version of the transcription. When you are saving it, I would heavily recommend using the same file name as the audio file. That brings the advantage that those two things are tied together. So when you're going back and trying to find, oh, what does this bit of... I know this is Edward Whitewood, but which audio recording is it connected to? Because, of course, there may be more than one audio recording that you're making notes from. If you use the same file name, then you will have the advantage of having the having that tie. Straight away you can see that those two things are tied. When you look at it in the file manager, it will more than likely be next to each other. So you see one with a text or the .doc extension and one with the MP3. Okay, well, I hope you found that useful, and have a look at the other audio editing video softwares, the audio editing examples that we've put together.